Hi,
Hello.
I'm Julian.
And I am Tom.
We are Team Binge. We are here to talk about Rooster, episode 5 of what should probably be a first season. This one was called Mr. Razzles, which, before we got on mic, I asked Tom who Mr. Razzles was, which will tell you how much either I was paying attention or how inconsequential that name is to the story. I'm looking at our outline, Tom, and it's like scene, and a line or two for each. So for those of you that have never joined us before, I'm sorry. This one's going to be all over the place. We're going to be hopping just like the Easter holiday we just celebrated, which the main message is a rabbit hides eggs in your house without you knowing, and you have to find them. So
My son did ask a very poignant question. He's like, why is a bunny hiding eggs around? Like, they don't lay eggs. And it's like, that's a fair point. I don't know.
Yeah. You told him because this is a godless house, and we only trust in the bunny. Anyways, all right. That's a weird vibe to start this out with. Almost sounded like I was condemning you, Tom. So let's just move right on to this episode. So I want to touch on this, and I don't know if your complaint was the same as mine, but last episode we talked about...
who says I have complaints? You're jumping to conclusions here, bro.
All right,
but go on.
Last episode, we talked about, or at least I talked about, how little I cared about the student stories of this show. Like, that's not what I'm showing up. What I appreciate is we went back to the adults. We're in the adult pool right now. We spent some time in the kiddie pool last episode. It was fine. I didn't care for it. Someone had an accident. We moved over to the adult pool, and I feel much better in the adult pool. Although I would argue that the adults in this show sometimes don't act like real human beings, and we'll touch on it several times. But this episode brought in one Connie Britton, which I don't know why it took us 5 episodes, but I was glad to see Coach's wife, Tammy Taylor, from Friday Night Lights, a show that you never watch because you hate Pete Berg. Sorry, nope. Tom. It sounds like I'm mad at you, but I'm just,
disappointed.
Disappointed. To quote your and I, dads at different time, I'm just disappointed. So, what'd you think of this one, Tom?
I enjoyed it. Like, I'm still enjoying the show. I still think there's a handful of characters that I just don't care for, or I think they're making decisions that are just annoying to me and I don't like watching. And I'm looking at you, Katie and Archie. I don't like any of that storyline of what they're doing. And that seems to be the through line, right? Because, like, their relationship is what is, like, the focus of the show. But now that we get Connie Britton coming in here and Beth and seeing, like, Greg and her relationship, it's kind of interesting, but I don't know, the dynamic that they had was kind of like amicable at first, and then stuff started hitting the fan a bit. But yeah, I don't know. My wife has been struggling to get into this show. She doesn't really like many of the characters. I think she told me before I potted that she only really likes the dean and the president. Like, everybody else is fine.
Sure. Yeah, Dylan and Walt, we'll spend some time with them. And, occasionally Greg is a good time. And, we get to see him teach in this episode a little bit. But I'm with you. I feel like the Archie and Katie storyline is like a typical will they, won't they, but we don't really care. It's just a lot of like showism for show's sake. So I'm with you. Although I find both of them as like actors very funny. Like, I think Katie's got some great delivery, and then Archie, Phil Dunster of Ted Lasso fame, is he's got some funny lines in this episode, especially him and Walt in the sauna. So, if you take it at like light fare, face value, still enjoying it in terms of trying to deep dive for this conversation in terms of the emotional stakes of this show, I'd rather just talk about our religious beliefs and how they apply to bunnies and Jesus on Easter,
I'm going to make you cry by the end of this episode.
Great. I'm excited. Tom, here's what I love about our outline is I've looked through several things you wrote, and I don't know what most of them mean. So I'm just going to start us off by diving into the classroom where we're reading some more of like the student stories. And I appreciate Greg's like he doesn't want to crush these young authors, and so he's got to like ask questions, seem interested, dig until he finds the answer. And he was very confused by the short story and its perspective, I guess. A story about horses, apparently.
Yeah, finally figuring out that the story's about horses. And then we pause, and my wife says, because she's a communications major, so she did a lot of writing in college. And she paused to tell me that this brought her back to a story she wrote when she was in college, where she was writing a war story of a person writing their loved one back home, not to find out like 2 pages into the story that they're rabbits. So she was doing war stories back and forth, like letters, as rabbits. So I didn't get more of it than that, but I really hope she has these papers somewhere and we can read them on pod.
You didn't oh, so you're the Archie in this situation? You didn't ask a couple of poignant questions to try to dig a little bit? You were just like, cool, hun, and then you press play on the show? You're worse than Archie, Tom. That's terrible. I have so many questions.
I don't know if she remembered it all.
What war were these rabbits fighting? Tom, you gotta ask the question. Like, was this modern warfare? I mean, there's like a kid's book about, it's called like Redwall, where the rabbits are like knights and stuff. Was she inspired by something she read? Why did your wife loves animals? Why is she putting this animal in a situation where it's inevitably going to be killed and maimed? What was happening here? What were the stakes? Was the rabbit the good guy or the bad guy? Like, are we the baddies? Was the rabbit asking that as it rode home to its 10,000 children, I guess? Because that's what happens with rabbits. Tom, I got so many questions.
Believe it or not, actually, my wife, she was actually credited on Zootopia 2. She was a writer on that. So.
Yes, yeah. That's right, because the cop in that came back from war, right? And became a cop. That's great. Okay, so that explains that note on the outline, which I was so confused by. I was like, did I watch the same show as Tom? I'm not reading the same literature as his wife, I can tell you that. But man, all right. So great stuff all around. I love creative writing. I think the fun stage that like kids get into is they start to write their own stories, and I'm sure your kid has started to do this, Tom, and my kids are almost like phasing out of it, but they're like, I wrote this story, I'm coming up with a story, and then they start to tell you about it, and you've got to like keep your eyes from glazing over because you want to be interested and encourage creativity, but also sometimes you get lost in the plot, much like what I'm talking about now regarding this television show. But let us move on. Let's go to Walt's office, and I guess it took me a beat, but we ended the last episode with Crystal and Gerg, as you like to call him, or Greg, sharing 2 cocos or making cocoa with 2 straws. I don't know what the phrasing would be. I don't think it's that. But he shows up with 2 cocos as a nice gesture of, we tied each other's shoes, let me get you a cocoa, and she rejects his cocoa.
I love her response. Like, she's just like telling him how unprofessional this is, like not at work, like what are you doing? And has a handful of comments that are still just as inappropriate as ever. And a couple sequences later on in this episode that, I mean, it's wild, but it is very entertaining and comical.
Yeah, I would argue making someone sign a photocopy of your 2 cocos is more inappropriate than bringing a cocoa to someone, but it is what it is. I just kept thinking about the Arrested Development throwaway line when it's spring break and the guy in the background goes, "They're crooked," and that's all I could think about while looking at the photocopy. But let's move on, because we're a clean podcast.
Not a Volvo.
Not a Volvo.
That's where I thought you were going. There's multiple photocopy references.
There are. That one, yes, that one we'll get to when we talk about cars. All right, we have Walt and Dylan discussing the soon-to-be appearance of Beth, or Elizabeth's daughter, however you want to pronounce her name. We'll call her Beth or Connie Britton or Coach Taylor's wife from, once again, Peter
What was
Berg's
her name
masterpiece.
What was her name in that show instead of constantly calling her coach's wife?
Oh, it's Tammy Taylor, but it's just
Tammy. Okay.
Yeah, it's a showism, Tom. I'm not trying to be disrespectful. She had her own agency. She's actually one of the better rounded characters in the show, which she was also in the movie where she wasn't a very rounded character, and she only wanted to do the TV show if she was. So that's a little bit about...
Stop talking about the show. Stop talking about the show. We're not doing a podcast on that show.
Tom, we are. We do another podcast. It's called Lighten on Friday Nights with Tom and Julian, and we talk about Friday Night Lights and its various properties. All right. Beth's showing up. The student center is getting dedicated. Do we know what she's done? What makes her the best alumnus ever?
They have it later when they actually introduce her, saying she's a philanthropist, gender equality stuff, CEO of something. So I don't know. Just essentially somebody that made themselves and is in some form of the limelight, I guess.
So she's a rich person, is what I'm hearing. Okay.
Successful.
Okay.
Successful.
So that's okay, but referring to her as coach's wife, that's not okay. All right, I pick up what you're putting down, Tom.
Yeah.
That's fine. The person that's most terrified of this visit is Walt. Walt seems to think she's coming for his job, which I think is a funny... Because Walt seems to be rather secure and we have not seen him waver in this way thus far in the show, I think it's funny that this is what's striking fear in him, is that Beth is going to show up and take his job.
Yeah, it's really good. And at first you think it's just he's imagining this, but I mean, there's a handful of lines that Beth says where it's oh yeah, she might be.
Yeah, she's I would love to see a woman running this this campus. But she is apparently the one. This felt like a little bit of chicanery in the show where they're she's the one that's introduced the Green Initiative. Prior to this, it was the board. Hey, is what's his name dead? Tom, is the character Riggs, or
I think he
dead?
is mentioned at some point later in the episode. He is mentioned either by Dylan in passing or somebody in passing. So I think let's just say he's still on a machine.
This show has the feeling of a show that was going in one direction and then something happened off, with Alan Ruck, and they had to bring in Connie Britton. That's kind of the vibe I get with how quickly we sent him to the hospital and are now no longer talking about him. And oh, by the way, the Green Initiative was brought to the board through Beth, who is on the board, but wasn't really mentioned that way earlier in episode 1 or 2. Anyways, my chicanery antenna's up, Tom. That's all I wanted to say.
Well, actually, the Green Initiative is an alien invasion. So this show will become an alien invasion show.
Oh, well, perfect. I love it. I hope this show does a crossover with Outer Range. I'd be super excited. I hope a hole in the ground forms in the campus. So there is a discussion because Greg is involved in this, and we find out that he has kept it cordial, but Beth has not, or at least they seem to be chummy since the divorce, and we're not really pointing fingers in this scene, but we will later. I didn't understand. I'm confused by the Beth-Greg relationship, Tom. I'll say it here.
Yeah, I think that's fair, because I think the idea is that they're still cordial, or at least Greg is seemingly just nervous around her or just very weird in his responses. And we get it here, I think, when Katie calls him and kind of confronts and forces Greg to kind of confront.
They're talking about, hey, mom's showing up, and Greg's oh, we should all get together. And it's okay, so he's not the one that's bothered by her presence. So where did this all go wrong? And that's the scene, which was quite funny. Katie just calls her on his phone, which I thought was a great bit. But Tom, as Beth showed up and we got more of Connie Britton, I don't feel like it clarified more of this relationship. And so I've got questions at the end of this episode as to how we are supposed to feel about the Greg and Beth of it all.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I mean, I feel like it's once we start getting into the episode and you can see things are still very clearly under Greg's skin, and he maybe subconsciously kind of says it in later scenes, that kind of bubbles up some stuff to the surface. So he wants to kind of play it off like they're all well and good, and so certainly still has feelings for her, but there's more to the story that we haven't got.
Well, I mean, do we want to talk about it now since we've poked the Greg and Beth of it all?
Yeah. We poked the rooster.
Sure, we poked the rooster. So she cheated on him with one of his two best friends, which tells us a little bit about Greg, tells us a little bit about Beth. But I get the sense that with the picture at the end of the episode that he's like moved around with him and cherished, he still loves Beth, right? Is that the vibe that you got? For
sure. Yeah, I think that's what we're kind of supposed to take from it.
And that was a photograph. For a long time, I was like, oh, that's a painting. And then the show was like, no, it's a photograph. And I was like, oh, thank you, show. Because even on the big screen, I could not tell what I was looking at. But the show told me what I was looking at, which is what the best shows do, Tom. They tell you what you're looking at while they show you what you're looking at.
They should have had Nickelback song playing in the background to help us. Look at this photograph. Like, it would have been helpful.
Listen, if you would have gone with any other Nickelback song, I would have been confused. But since you were referring specifically to photograph, you did a great job, Tom. You didn't then have to explain to me which Nickelback song. Thank you.
Not everybody got it. I know you got it, but I gotta explain it for Mel.
Oh, thank you. Yeah. She appreciates it.
There's no one like you, and there never will be.
From the producer of Bohemian Rhapsody, there are many legends, but there is only one. Michael, rated PG-13, in theaters April 24.
People are full of surprises, especially when you travel together. Thankfully, Vrbo is not. When you book a Vrbo, you get Vrbo Care and 24/7 live support, so your house doesn't surprise you like your friends might. If something's not as described or doesn't work, Vrbo's there. Real people, real support, anytime. Book today on the Vrbo app. If you know, you Vrbo. Terms apply. See vrbo.com/trust for details.
It's also suggested by Katie during this phone call that she's like, hey, Mom, why don't you just stay with Dad in the house? Once again, I think this is weird. He seems to be moving on a little bit in his love life here on campus. And obviously but I don't know. I guess he just wants to be around Beth because he's not over her. That's the long and short of it.
I think so. Yeah, it's like he's trying to move on, but now that she's kind of coming back into his life in this moment, like, I don't know, he was the one that recommended that he stay with her, but like when Katie said it, like, he was certainly all on board.
Right.
But
he just wants to play sequence with someone, you know? He wants to share Cocos and play sequence, which is...
Yeah, who doesn't? Dylan.
No, Dylan does not. She hates games. Also, sequence of all of the board games that you want to play, I would put that low on the list.
You know which one I'd want to play?
I'm going to go with chess, because you're boring.
No, Catan. Moving on.
Oh, Catan's worse than chess. Why did I say chess? The joke's funnier at Catan, because Catan's such a dumb game. Oh, you trade sheeps for wool, and it's just the dumbest. All right, you bring it up now. I'm mad. It's tough to pod while I'm mad at you. Okay, here we go.
Up.
Golly,
you're condemning me.
This is what's wrong with the world, Catan. All right.
That's the problem.
That is the problem. As those astronauts circle the moon and they look back at Earth, they're like, hey, from this perspective, we realize what's wrong with us. It's Catan. They send that. They sent that in an email once they got their emails to work. All right. So Archie and Katie, this is them talking, I believe, and the conversation is... People keep writing for Katie all over the campus, which Katie is for. She's like, I would love to thank that person. And I believe this is where Katie tells Archie, despite being physical rather recently, that she's like, I'm over you. And then, the Green Initiative bit is the lights keep going out in weird times during people's conversations. Although... it happens every day at 7 p.m., so maybe we would not be surprised every time. But this leads to a lot of kissing. So I think this is just I once again, because I gotta be honest, Tom. I'm starting to really like Sunny, and I'm starting to really hate Archie and Katie. So I don't, and hate's a strong word. I despise them, but I don't know. I would condemn them as I did you earlier, but I don't know why these two are making these decisions. And I honestly, once again, I came to like Sunny a little bit more in this episode, even though they're all in the wrong.
Yeah, like, I mean, I'm all for, like, you know, they were married. Like, if they want to get back together, get back together. But, like, the way they're going about this, and, like, from a showism of them, like, when they kind of hooked up at the end of that episode, you were like, oh, that's kind of a bummer, because you were hoping that Katie was going to move on. And then they just completely toy with the audience by having Katie say, like, listen, that happened, and I felt nothing, I'm over you, only for, like, the lights to go out, and then...
It's all it takes, Tom.
Yeah, it's a little bit darker, that requires them then to start making out. Like, I was just, like, kind of threw my hands up in the air and just hated this. I did not care for it.
You threw your hands up in the air, just like the song by Nickelback, Hands in the Air. That's exactly right. Look at those hands in the air, I think the lyrics go. All right. I wrote Connie Britton in an exclamation mark. I'm very proud of how much I enjoy Connie Britton.
She's the best.
She was in a show called Nashville, Tom. That's a little trivia for you.
With Hayden Panettiere, who's also played a little kid in...
Heroes. All right.
No, not Heroes. Malcolm in the Middle, which me and my wife just recently finished. She was like a recurring character on that show.
The other football movie... where they solve racism. It was called Remember the Titans, Tom. Boom.
There it is.
Everything goes back to a football movie with this show. All right.
Incredible. It's like Kevin Bacon.
Yes.
All right, moving on.
Football and Kevin Bacon. All right, so Walt introduces Elizabeth. He calls her a she-EO, and I thought that was brilliant. I wrote it in my diary. I said, I heard the most brilliant thing today. Walt from a show that I'm kind of enjoying said she-EO, and it was wonderful.
I love how it gets crickets and then immediately blames his wife for giving him the joke. So great.
Oh, so good. So good. All right. For a little bit of levity, Greg's phone rings, and he's apparently of an age where he doesn't know how to turn his ringer off or like hit the one button. Any button on a phone will turn off a ringer when it's going. I found this outrageous. I didn't laugh. I found this outrageous.
I love the song choice. The PIMP from 50 Cent was
Photograph.
Great.
Yep, that's exactly
that
right.
Better.
I'm sorry. It was Phone Ring by Nickelback. It was like, look at that phone ring. I believe the lyrics go.
They're all in the tone of that song.
Right.
But like, it's funny. I like the bit of him not knowing it's his phone because like we established earlier that like Spooner had traded watches or traded a watch for being able to change his ringtone. So he didn't know it was his, hence the delay. So I thought that was kind of funny. But yeah, the fact that he didn't know how to stop it was a bit much.
I'm pulling back the curtain too much, Tom, but I'm looking at your note that says PIMP 50 Cent. I thought that song featured someone named Spooner. I was like, oh, yeah, 50 Cent featuring Spooner. That makes sense, right? But nope, Spooner's a character in this show. Whew, I can't even believe I'm sober right now. Let's keep going. We got a walk and talk where, as I believe this is Katie, Beth, and Greg, a kid calls Greg Rooster, and she's like, oh, shut up, that's super cool. And Katie's like, yeah, Dad's really hot stuff on campus right now. This leads to them being like, yeah, let's get together as a family and have family fun. They all seem to, I don't understand. Like, I guess distance has made them all fonder. They all seem to get along. So I know some awkwardness is led to later by Greg's outburst, but I am confused by the show being like, oh, this family was torn asunder by Greg and Beth. They have this one daughter they both love, but now they're like thrown back together. Why haven't they hung out more? I don't know. They all like each other. What's going on here, Tom? Explain it to me like I'm 5.
All right, so there's a lemonade stand.
Okay.
No, but like I think again, it's just the show is going very heavy as they are introducing Connie Britton's character and Beth and trying to make it seem like they are still very much a tight family unit when it's all just surface level. And there's a lot going on underneath that is not being discussed and probably should have been. And Greg's trying to kind of overlook it, but it still eats at him.
Sure. All right, fine. I disagree, but I don't disagree, and it's not your fault, Tom. It's kind of your fault, but it's not fully your fault. I just don't feel like that's what the show is pitching to me. But I see what you're trying to do. Mm-hmm. Anyways, Archie. Okay, Sonny shows up, and Archie pulls a Tom where he doesn't ask any questions and doesn't care about anything about her life, like the time she wrote a short story about rabbits and wars, which I'm still fascinated with. And you know who clocks this, Tom? Mo. Mo and me are emotionally intelligent enough to know you should have asked more questions and that Archie should have asked about the New York interviews. And I hope your wife doesn't listen to this one because I may get you in trouble. So it's okay.
Listen, after I did that, I think I went upstairs and I heard Ashley talking to the dog, and she's like, F that guy. You're not asking me follow-up questions about my bunny story.
I thought she was going to tell the dog about the buddy story. She's like, and Sergeant Ribbits, he charged the guns. Oh, man. All right, at the Somme. Okay, let's move on. So, listen, so Sonny is now mad at Archie because she is getting, like, the sense of she left, she's come back. He rejected her cocoa that she was offering him in this moment. And yeah, Archie is Archie. Have we not learned that he's just kind of all about himself? So, and also he went back to Katie while you were gone, Sonny. Come on.
Yeah, very self-obsessed. And I mean, I'm glad Sonny is seeing this here. Like, cause I think obviously once she found out she was pregnant, she was going to try to make it work. But yeah, it doesn't seem like you can change Archie. He is who he is. He is Phil Dunster.
That's a great point. So here's maybe where I think my issue is. I think if you, and maybe this is terrible and we'll get emails. I don't know, Tom. But if Sonny wasn't pregnant with Archie's child, which is a permanent thing in this situation, she's keeping the baby. That baby is going to grow up with Archie being the father and Sonny being the mother. Like, if you're going to have him go back and forth between Katie and Sonny, don't bring a child into it. Like, the stakes there are so much higher in my mind that I'm bothered by that, I guess. And because we're playing this for laughs, but I'm just thinking about the child, Tom. That's all.
As you always do.
I always do. Oh, man. Me and Michael Scott, we used to have the same username on that chat, you know?
Little kid lover. Yeah.
You said it. I did it. All right.
Or when Michael Scott wanted to adopt a baby, and Pam had to tell her, like, that could take at least, like, six months. It's like, I don't even know if I'm going to want a baby by then.
I don't even know if I'm going to want a baby by then. That's what I recently said that about a boat, Tom. All right, someone told me to wait, and I was like, I don't even know if I'm going to want to wait and have a boat in 6 months. Anyways, we don't have a boat, and that's probably why I'm sad. So, yeah. I've learned that boats make people happy. Let's go to Walt's office, the happiest place on Earth, and we already touched on it, but this is where Crystal makes him sign a photocopy.
You can't touch on it. You're gonna go to the meeting.
The disciplinary board.
Yeah.
Oh yes, that Nickelback song, "Can't Touch This" or "Don't Touch That." That's right. Look at them not touch that, I believe are the lyrics. All right, so we have a meeting with Walt, Greg, Dylan, and Beth. And wouldn't you know it, Tom, what sport comes up during this?
Hockey, baby!
Hockey! The greatest sport in the whole wide world, according to a small select amount of people. We find out that the hockey coach is continuing to have issues, although he's trying to get sober. Good for him.
Yeah. Michelob Ultras, he's okay.
Yeah, I hate quitters, but it is what it is. Beth, I guess, essentially outs Greg. She's like, oh, Greg used to play minor league hockey. He would be a great addition, which did Walt not pick up on this? Walt didn't realize this? I really loved the mistrust discussion between Walt and Greg after this moment, but I guess we kind of, I don't know, they telegraphed this pretty hard.
Yeah, and Greg trying to kind of talk out of him saying that he didn't play hockey or didn't enjoy hockey, and having Walt just stare him down was really funny, and I enjoyed that. But we start to get like the cracks here where like as Beth is saying these things about him playing hockey to Walt, Greg makes that kind of comment like, oh, you always do this kind of a deal. So it's just, we're starting to kind of see that she can be manipulative.
Yeah, manipulative, maybe a little bit more aggressive and controlling and pushing him to do things he doesn't want to do. So, yeah, I get that. I saw that. Cleverness, but I'm also very excited to... I mean, I didn't enjoy him taking the hockey puck to the mouth, but I'm enjoying to see Coach Rooster just glide around on the ice, you know?
He's in his element.
He is. Tom, we get a little bit of action in this episode. A little bit of running and the chasing and the gunfighting and the sword fighting. Archie chases the vandal, which, I gotta be honest, I have a little bit trouble keeping all of the students straight in terms of who's who. But we know that the vandal wears pink shoes, and that's very important.
Yeah, the pink shoes bandit. Like, so we eventually do see her later. Who is this? Is this one of Katie's students that had like talked to her about like, hey, you should get out there kind of thing or move on? Like, I did not know who this was.
Tom, I don't know if you heard me 30 seconds ago, but I can't keep the students together. I don't know. And also, I don't know if you listened to me last pod, but I don't care about the students in general from a story standpoint, other than maybe, well, Sonny, who's a post-grad, and Tommy. Those are the two I can name and care about.
Listen,
but yeah.
I'll just say, if it is one of Katie's students, this is so much effort. Like, I feel like this student should probably have other stuff going on in their life because they have conservatively tagged or written on this board 13 different things on campus at this point. That this show has shown us.
And
like,
they tagged a car, they've tagged a tree, they've tagged a sign. Here's my thing: Tom, is this like the Scarlet Pimpernel? Is there multiple people being the same character? So are there multiple people wearing pink shoes, and like at the end they're going to be like, I'm Spartacus and I'm Spartacus? And I'm making a lot of like modern cultural references while I'm trying to make this point, but I don't know, is there only one pink shoes bandit, Tom?
I mean, I think it would be more fun if there were like 13 pink shoes bandits, because we do find out that there is another person wearing pink shoes, right? And he tries to confront the other lady. So yeah, maybe. I mean, they're pink Converse. Like they seem pretty popular brand of shoe. Yeah,
exactly. I've got a pair. You've got a pair. Everyone's got a pair.
Yeah. I got a pair to spare.
Katie and Archie are texting each other back and forth. They're texting each other vegetables. I did not appreciate this. I did not appreciate this from a evidence leaving standpoint, as well as I did not appreciate this from, I don't really understand the vibe. I mean, I know what it implies, but I'm still bothered by vegetables in general. Tom, you're allergic to them, so
correct.
I don't know, but Katie's like, hey, Archie, come and visit, and then instead of Archie showing up, Tom, little show plot device here.
Ooh.
Who shows up?
Sonny shows up, kind of starts walking. Like, it's funny because they make eye contact, and then she starts walking over, and then Katie just gets freaked out. It's like, no, don't come over here.
Yep.
And then her first line to her about, like, Sonny's like, oh, do you know who I am? Oh, don't I know you from effing my husband? Was a great line.
It is a great line. Archie taking the coward's way out, seeing what's happening, and immediately, like, doing a 180. I almost said a 360. That wouldn't make sense. 180 and goes away. I don't think it solves. I don't think it solves the problem. I don't think it maybe is enough or in like the right moment. But I appreciated what Sonny did here.
Yeah.
I think if it's born from her realizing that like she's lost Archie already, I don't know that that's the great motivation for making this apology. But I do appreciate when someone is willing to take responsibility for a mistake they made. And then that kind of like throws Katie into a loop of, oh, it makes Sonny human. And like, this is a person that I clearly hate. And this leads her to have like a human moment of, you know, hey, how are you doing? Which I thought both actors in this scene just did a wonderful job.
Yeah, it was really well done. And then like Sonny's response saying like how just she's scared. And it's a very understandable reaction. Being a young woman pregnant, trying to kind of figure out what she's doing with her life and find a career. And now having to deal with a pregnancy with a guy that seems like a big dirtbag. It's understandable.
Yep, I agree. So we cut from there, and this is why I'm hanging out with this show, and I will, I'll watch it to the end, is because there are moments like that where it's like, okay, like I get the humanity, I get the stakes involved. Everyone, once again, is doing a really great job just from a acting and performance standpoint. So it's stuff like that I can forgive the other weird things that are about to happen in this episode.
Refreshing wild cherry cola meets smooth cream. The treat you deserve. Pepsi Wild Cherry and Cream. Treat yourself.
Are your ad campaigns lighting up the dashboard, but not the pipeline? That's bullspend, and marketers are calling it out in Dashboard Confessions.
My boss asked for results, so I opened my dashboard for the only positive-sounding metric I had. Impressions.
Cut the bull spend. See revenue, not just reach. LinkedIn delivers the highest return on ad spend of major ad networks. Advertise on LinkedIn. Spend $250 on your first campaign and get a $250 credit. Go to linkedin.com/campaign. Terms and conditions apply.
We are at Greg's house with Greg, Beth, and Dylan. And this is Beth. Like, Beth's come in as like a savior. She's like, no, forget about the Green Initiative. You need to bring the review back. And she's like everyone's best friend. And, maybe that's what else Greg sees. Greg sees her as like the person that's always like, hey, like, I'll help you out. I'll throw you a bone. But then when it comes to like making the decision, she's the one that's putting things on the chopping block. I don't know. I mean, I don't know if that's what makes her the CEO that she is today. You know what I mean, Tom?
Yeah, because she's the one, Beth is the one like pushing the Green Initiative, right? So like it's very counterintuitive of telling her that, hey, don't worry about this thing that I'm pushing, and you restart up your print review deal. Like it's weird.
Yeah. Forget the trees, bro, as our boy Spooner would say. On that hot track by Nickelback. What about the trees? Or look at those trees, I believe is the lyric. Featuring Spooner. All right, the one night stand is mentioned during this. I don't know. I don't know if this is how real adults talk. I was a little bit confused by this. If you're like
I don't think
in a
so,
situation where you have a ex-husband and an ex-wife, like, are we bringing this up? And like, Beth's the one that does it. She like implies that, Dylan, you were the one night stand. I don't know. This all seemed very strange to me. Maybe I'm just not an adult, Tom. I don't know.
Not yet. You'll get there.
Not yet.
I mean, it's
67 years old. One day I'll get there.
It just lays the groundwork for the next line kind of coming up here about Beth saying that he had two friends, and Greg kind of calling out that you slept with one of them, making it weird and awkward. But yeah, it just kind of got us in this romantic relationship kind of thing that Greg can then jump out at her.
Let me ask you a question, Tom.
Uh-huh.
If Beth had said, Greg had 50 friends, and Greg went, and yeah, you slept with one of them, like, does that make that less, like, weird or hurtful? If, like, does the fact that Greg only had two friends and she slept with one of them, does that make it worse, or is it worth no matter how many friends Greg has?
No, it's a percentage game. It makes it worse. If it's above 24%, then it's worse.
Okay.
Because I would argue I have 4 friends, and if my wife were to sleep with one of them, it would be below the 25% threshold. So,
all right, I guess this is how adults talk. Never mind. Oh man, I wish I would have hit the eject button 10 seconds before we went down that road. All right. The search and rescue guys have found us. Thank goodness. Let's move on.
Let's go to the hothouse, baby.
Yes, where things are not at all awkward, where it's Archie and Waltz. Once again, I just love that John C. McKinley was like, listen, I'll show up for the show, but I'm doing it in the sauna every time. And him discussing Archie's body and like how fit Archie is, and Archie being like, I don't really work out. I don't, in that like British accent. And when Walt says, I'm resisting the urge to hit you, I loved it. It was incredible. Every bit of what Walt's doing is great.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and like the fact that it's not Sunny, but Archie is also talking about like how garbage he eats, like the different pastas or whatever, and yeah, it makes it that much worse.
Yeah, and Walt obviously also clocks that Archie did not ask Sonny about any of the interviews. So Walt, being Sonny's advisor, he clocks that. I believe he also calls Archie weak and vain, which was wonderful.
I love Archie's response, like, I'm not weak. So he is vain, but he's not weak.
All of this for Walt to throw him out. Did he break a rule?
I went back to our episode 1 pod and checked the rule book for the Hot House, because I think there were 10, 12 rules, and he did not break any of them. So this was just Walt putting his own foot down.
So there's like an unwritten rule where Walt is like the person that can throw anyone out. His word is law. I got it. I got it. All right, we have Greg and Beth fighting, which I felt like was normal. This is how they should be interacting with each other, but this is all stemming from Greg's outburst, and Dylan has kindly excused herself from this conversation. And this is like Greg pointing out that he wants to be friends. He's trying to be friends. And so I guess that's to your point, that like everything up to this was just like niceties and surface level. And then once we've kind of cracked the surface, we go to blows.
Yeah. And they seem to like just, Beth says very specifically here, it's like, hey, let's just cut our losses and I'll get out of here. And like Greg is trying to say, we're just razzing each other. And this is where you get the Mr. Razzles kind of comment. But yeah, it just seemed like pretty abrupt for them to just like completely cut loose here. And again, I don't know enough about Beth's character and what her motivations and what she truly did in this relationship to like cast any judgment yet. But she definitely seems to be like trying
not
to
apologetic.
Yeah, she's kind of like saying like I'm the victim, but like I don't know, like it's not a great situation, and she seems to be kind of throwing him under the bus a bit.
Sure, that's fair. But you know who you don't throw under the bus, Tom? No. You don't throw Mr. Razzles under the bus, which
can't. Based
on your notes, I'm assuming this is where he says Mr. Razzle. I didn't know he said Mr. Razzle in the episode.
Yeah, I mean, they do this for the titles, like, of these episodes, where it's just be one little, like, throwaway line. I don't know why the whole episode would be around this phrase, but here we are.
Yeah, it should have been called, like, Sequence, Hasbro's #1 board game. And I would have been like, oh, that makes sense for the episode, because this episode mainly talks about Sequence, the #1 board game. We didn't hit it, but I did love when Dylan was like, I hate board games, which is such a funny thing, like, from our friend group, Tom, of which there are 4 and 4. We love board games, so it's just funny to. Once again, I don't know what an adult is. She hates board games, but this leads to Katie and Beth having a daughter-dad talk, because we find out that Beth considers herself more of the dad in this relationship. So she's more of like the stickler and like more emotionally cut off. I don't know. She's like, she proclaimed herself a selfish person, which I thought, I'm pretty sure if you're truly a selfish person, people don't like spending time with you. So it's tough for me to believe that Connie Britton, as charming as she is also like a very selfish person. These relationships are complicated, and human relationships are not complicated, Tom. As I've learned anything in life, you're either a bad person or a good person, and I either hate you or I kind of like you. So I found this confusing.
Yeah, like the whole, like, the Greg is a mom, Beth is a dad, I thought that was just kind of weird and, like, playing on the stereotypes, I guess. And then they have this Mrs. Doubtfire reference. Like, I mean, I'm a huge fan of Mrs. Doubtfire, so I'm all for it, but I didn't really get
fruiting, Tom?
I didn't really get the purpose of it and what it really meant.
I distinctly said it out loud, and I made the note. I was like, I don't think real people talk like this. I had a little bit of a difficult time with the Katie and Beth of it all, but maybe they'll flush it out as we move on. The conversation I certainly enjoyed, and definitely real humans have, was this miscommunication between Archie and this student who he calls into his office. She's been pining over him. He thinks she's a vandal, and the lights go out suddenly, Tom, and
Classic.
it leads to a classic miscommunication. I did find this funny, but also Archie should just never be alone with any student of, anyways, at all.
Yeah, it doesn't make any sense. The fact that we didn't immediately cut to the disciplinary board after this sequence is annoying. I mean, I guess we get it a little bit later with Walt and Dylan and him, but I just don't like these storylines. I don't like the idea of Archie is this handsome British dude, so then all the female students are gawking over him, and then you have this scene. Like, it's just so much, especially knowing how much of a jerk Archie has been to just about every character he's been involved with.
Yeah, he's no Indiana Jones, all right? Indiana Jones is the only one that students should pine over,
Yeah.
They write things on their eyelids and stuff.
Exactly.
All right, we get Greg at hockey practice. I mean, Tom, over under, or how excited will you be? On a scale of 9 to 10, how excited would you be if this just becomes a hockey sports coach show for the next 3 episodes?
I mean, I don't know. You can't beat Jared Kiso in Shoresy.
Sure.
So, if I'm going to watch a coach a season of hockey, I would want it to be Shoresy. I mean, it's fun to see Carrell here because, Carrell obviously he could skate properly. He's clearly has a background in hockey. So just like Walt being able to be in a sauna because he does that in real life, this is definitely written in for Carrell to do this.
This is Carell's sauna, huh? I like that.
Yeah.
I do like how either Beth or Katie's like, skate backwards, as if that's the most impressive thing he does, and how proud he is when he does it. And
that's when he gets the puck in the face. He got cocky.
It's the puck in the face. He did. Although he looks pretty good at the end of this episode. So, I mean, when he got smoked, I was like, oh, he lost teeth. But it's a show. So I guess they didn't do that practically, Tom. I would have loved the blooper of just him taking pucks to the face repeatedly. And Bill Lawrence roll it again. We didn't get it. We need different coverage. I'm sure insurance probably wouldn't have liked that. But, all right, let's finish this one out. We've got Walt and Dylan, and they are talking with Archie. This is, as you mentioned, the disciplinary board has only got time for Gerg. They don't have time for Archie, who undoubtedly, during this conversation, makes a really good case for why he should be in front of the disciplinary board constantly. He's like, oh, she's like a normal student. I only date post-grad students. It was like stop talking, my guy. Just stop talking. And this all leads to Dylan's conclusion of, oh, the lights are the reason all of these professors are getting in trouble with their students. And Walt's like, oh, I love it. You're going to use that to bring back the review. I was like, guys, I think we're really missing the boat here with Archie and what we should maybe talk to him about, because I don't think he's certainly not listening during this conversation. So, they are playing fast and loose with the discipline of Archie.
Yeah, and I feel like we knew this was coming, of Dylan trying to do something or create some sort of excuse to bring the review back. But yeah, this seems like a pretty loose thread to pull to be able to say, yeah, the review needs to come back because of this.
Right. But it's a show, Tom, and pulling on loose strings is what we do. This all leads to the final scene with Greg, Beth, and Katie hanging out, kind of. And Greg finds out he was called Mrs. Doubtfire, and he loves it. He's super stoked to be referred to as Mrs. Doubtfire. And then this all leads to, and I just didn't understand. I don't remember this picture being brought up previously, but they bring it up as if it's something we should know of.
I think they did it earlier in the episode.
Okay.
She had referenced it. I think in the very first scene, it was Katie and Greg, and Katie kept kind of calling out this picture. Like, hey, why do you keep having this up? I hate this picture as a art teacher or whatever. This is garbage art.
Yeah, so she does not realize that is a picture he took of her mom. So she's looking at that, and she thinks it was just a touristy thing they bought.
It was weird, yeah, just the way it was like framed almost. Like I don't know if it had like a titling on top or bottom, like it seemed like a tourist like curio kind of thing. But no, clearly like this was essentially a family portrait. Not portrait, but like a family picture or whatever he took. I don't understand how she wouldn't have known that.
Yeah. And this all leads to like, like I'm not over your mom, like that kind of discussion, or like Katie reading into that. So I don't know. Are the next 3 episodes Greg trying to win Beth back? Is Beth ever going to apologize? Because she didn't apologize in this episode when she, tied the shoes with Greg's one other buddy. I don't know what's going on here.
Yeah, I mean, well, I'm sure we'll get more backstory and try to understand it a little bit. But obviously, we know Greg more as a character and what he is. Because, like, we've talked about it before, he seems like a well-meaning person, but is a little bit goofy and around the edges.
Sure.
And we just don't really know what, like, the extent of Beth. And I would almost argue, like, Katie's, too. Like, the extent of their, like, backstories. Like, we're made to kind of seem like Katie is... the victim and stuff, but we don't know what potentially led to like Archie going away. And I'm not trying to defend Archie by any means, but I think it's a similar situation with Beth, where there's more to it that we'll get, and that maybe will round out the kind of drama of it all and why characters are making some of the decisions they're making.
Yeah, I think she says something, and maybe I dreamt this, but maybe after Greg pokes at her with that comment, she's later on they're like arguing, and she says something like, we weren't in the best space anyways when that happened, so like things were already going south by the time I cheated on you. So we're not going to justify those actions, but it will be interesting if we dive into that a bit more. I do think we are going to get like a strong hockey coach episode in one of these 3, where it's
I'm here for it.
Almost like a bottle episode, but a rink episode, Tom, as they like to call it in hockey parlance.
Yeah. Look at this rink, the song by Nickelback.
Nickelback featuring Spooner and also Gerg. Okay, so a lot of things have been said on this pod. If you have issue with any of them, give it a beat, think about it, and then email us at teambingepodcast@gmail.com. Just know that my anger for Tom is like the mist. It dissipates. And deep down, I do love him and appreciate him. So don't write me about being mean to Tom. I don't want to hear it. And Tom, I don't want to hear it. Tom, what else did I miss?
Yeah, follow us on the socials at Team Binge or at Team Binge Podcast. And if you are enjoying our shenanigans, please rate and review us. If you throw us a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts, we will read it on air. Please take a couple minutes. It really helps us grow the show and let more people find out our ridiculous show stuff we cover.
Yeah. Tom, did we decide, is this 8 episodes or 9 episodes? It's not 10, right?
I think it's around 10.
Is it? Okay.
Around number 10.
So we are at the mid-ultimate episode.
Hold on. Let me do the math.
To say it.
This was the 5th episode?
Yep.
Okay, hold on.
Oh, no.
Yeah, we're halfway through.
Okay, we're halfway through. Good work. All right. I was going to say, as we were coming to the end of this show, we need to start discussing what else we're going to turn to next, but we have at least a year until this show's done, it seems like.
Exactly.
So for Team Binge, I have been Julian.
I've been Tom. Till next week, everybody. Bye-bye.